In the 20th century, American tables boasted legendary dinners that transformed family gatherings into events and left a lasting mark on the culinary world. From the irresistible stuffed bell peppers to fondue parties that defined an era, these meals were more than just sustenance. They were bridges to the past, offering familiar and beloved flavors. What made these dishes so unforgettable, and why do they continue to evoke such nostalgia? Join us as we savor the flavors of history and explore 20 famous dinners from the past we want back. Sloppy Joes. Sloppy Joes were a cherished meal in 1950s to 1980s America, enjoyed at home and in schools. They were easy to make, yet flavorful, featuring ground beef cooked in a tasty tomato sauce. To whip up this classic, you'd need ground beef, onions, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, brown sugar, and spices. These ingredients came together in a pan, simmering until the flavors melted into a savory sweet delight. Once ready, the mixture was piled onto soft hamburger buns, creating a messy but delightful sandwich. Today, Sloppy Joes remain a popular comfort food, with variations adding extra flair like peppers or different seasonings. While some may opt for ready-made mixes, the homemade version still reigns supreme for those seeking that authentic, homemade taste from the past. As the aroma of Sloppy Joes lingered in kitchens across America, Lobster Thermidor reigned as the epitome of luxury dining, embodying an era where comfort met extravagance on dinner plates. Lobster Thermidor was indeed a culinary sensation in the mid-20th century United States. Originating from France, this dish became a symbol of luxury and fine dining, especially during the 1950s to the 1980s. Lobster Thermidor was synonymous with upscale dining experiences, often served in high-end restaurants and exclusive social gatherings. That's right, it pays to dig deep. It represented a lavish lifestyle and sophistication. The preparation of lobster thermidor was intricate. After boiling, the lobster meat was carefully removed, mixed with a rich sauce comprising cream, egg yolks, mustard, and cognac, and then placed back into the lobster shell for broiling. The sauce was the highlight of the dish, blending creamy textures with the distinctive flavors of cognac and mustard. It added depth and richness to the tender lobster meat. Over time, lobster thermidor's popularity waned, partly due to changing culinary trends and a shift towards lighter, healthier fare. Its elaborate preparation also made it less practical for everyday dining. Stuffed bell peppers. Stuffed bell peppers were a popular and iconic dish in American cuisine from the 1950s to the 1980s. Representing a time when hearty, home-cooked meals were a staple of family dinners. These bell peppers, typically green but sometimes red or yellow for added visual appeal, were filled with a flavorful mixture of ground meat, rice, tomatoes, and herbs. They made clever use of simple, affordable ingredients to create a satisfying meal that could feed a family without breaking the budget. There you have it, our stuffed bell peppers. And look at that, they're beautiful, colorful, and delicious. The vibrant colors of the bell peppers made them visually appealing on the dinner table, adding a touch of elegance and freshness to the meal. While the classic recipe included ground meat, rice, tomatoes, and herbs, there were countless variations and personal touches that people added to suit their taste. The versatility allowed for creativity in the kitchen. This dish often became a family favorite with recipes passed down through generations. It was a comforting and familiar meal that brought loved ones together while around the dining table. Their popularity has waned in recent decades, with newer culinary trends and preferences shifting towards lighter, more globally influenced cuisines. Just as stuffed bell peppers evokes nostalgic family dinners, the savory warmth of chicken pot pie brings forth memories of hearty, homemade meals shared with loved ones, bridging generations through the art of classic American cuisine. Chicken pot pie. Chicken pot pie was an iconic dish in American cuisine from the 1950s to the 1980s, embodying a comforting and hearty meal for many families. Encased in a flaky pie crust, it boasted a creamy mixture of chicken and vegetables, making it a wholesome and satisfying dinner choice. We'll take 2 chicken pot pies. The dish's popularity stemmed from its simplicity, affordability, and ability to serve as a complete meal in a single dish. One notable aspect of chicken pot pie was its versatility. Families often added their twist by including various vegetables like carrots, peas, and potatoes, enhancing both the flavor and nutritional value of the meal. This adaptability made it a go-to option for households looking to create a filling and tasty dinner without extensive preparation or expense. Additionally, chicken pot pie was symbolic of a time when homemade meals were a cornerstone of American family life. Its aroma wafting from the oven signaled not just dinner, but a moment of togetherness and comfort shared around the table. Ham and scalloped potatoes. Ham and scalloped potatoes was a beloved dish in the culinary landscape of the 1950s to the 1980s. It brought together the earthy richness of thinly sliced potatoes and the savory goodness of chunks of ham, all enveloped in a creamy sauce that added a luscious texture to each bite. The dish was typically baked until the top developed a golden crust, adding a delightful contrast of textures. One of the highlights of ham and scalloped potatoes was its simplicity combined with comforting flavors. Families often cherish this dish for its ability to transform humble ingredients into a satisfying and flavorful meal. The creamy sauce, usually made with ingredients like milk, butter, and sometimes cheese, elevated that was perfect for family gatherings or cozy dinners at home. Moreover, ham and scalloped potatoes showcased the resourcefulness of home cooks, as it was a practical way to utilize leftover ham from holiday meals or Sunday dinners. This thrifty approach to cooking, coupled with the dish's ability to please a crowd, contributed to its enduring popularity during that era. While ham and scalloped potatoes warmed our hearts, let's not forget the classic charm of tuna noodle casserole. Tuna noodle casserole. Tuna noodle casserole was an iconic dish that symbolized convenience and affordability. It was a staple on dinner tables across the country, especially in suburban households. The recipe typically consisted of canned tuna, egg noodles, and cream of mushroom soup, often topped with crispy breadcrumbs or potato chips for added texture. Delicious, simple meals brought to you by Campbell's. Today, try tuna noodle casserole. One reason for its popularity was its ease of preparation. Busy homemakers could quickly assemble this dish with pantry staples. Additionally, it was budget-friendly, making it appealing during times of economic constraint. Tuna noodle casserole also represented a shift towards processed and canned foods, reflecting the era's embrace of convenience foods. However, over time, dietary trends and preferences evolved, leading to a decline in the popularity of this once beloved dish. Today, it's less common to find tuna noodle casserole on menus or in households as tastes have shifted towards fresher ingredients and diverse culinary influences. Liver and onions. Liver and onions were a typical and nutritious dish in American diets in the past. It gained popularity due to its rich iron content and being a good source of vitamins. The dish typically involved pan-frying slices of liver with onions and sometimes bacon or other seasonings. It was often served with mashed potatoes or vegetables, creating a hearty and satisfying meal. During this time, when nutritional awareness was growing, the liver was highly valued for its health benefits. However, its popularity has declined in recent decades due to changing taste and culinary preferences. Many people today prefer lighter meals or have developed aversions to the strong flavor of liver. Additionally, concerns about cholesterol and saturated fats have led to a decrease in the consumption of organ meats like liver in modern diets. Beyond the allure of liver and onions, there is the timeless taste of beef stroganoff that beckons. Beef stroganoff, a dish with roots in Russia, became a dinner table star in the USA between the 1950s and the 1980s. It was a time when families gathered around hearty meals and beef stroganoff was a favorite. To make this dish, cooks would saute beef cuts like tenderloin or sirloin until browned. Then, they'd stir in onions and mushrooms, cooking until these were soft and full of flavor. The magic happened with the sauce, a mix of beef broth and a big spoonful of sour cream. This combination created a sauce that was both rich and creamy, coating the beef in velvety goodness. The final touch was serving it over egg noodles or rice, turning it into a complete, satisfying meal. It was the kind of dinner that left everyone feeling full and happy. Today, beef stroganoff isn't as common in American kitchens. Tastes have changed, and people often prefer lighter meals or dishes from different parts of the world. Chicken a la king. Chicken a la king was another classic comfort food dish that gained popularity in the United States during the mid-20th century. This dish features a creamy mixture of diced chicken, sautéed mushrooms, and colorful vegetables, such as bell peppers and peas, all cooked together in a rich and savory sauce, often made with cream, chicken broth, and sometimes sherry or white wine for added flavor. Traditionally, chicken a la king was served over a bed of fluffy rice or atop toasted bread, such as toast points or biscuits, making it a hearty and satisfying meal. The creamy texture and blend of flavors made it a favorite among families and a staple on restaurant menus across the country. While chicken a la king may not be as ubiquitous on modern menus, it remains a nostalgic representation of classic American comfort food, cherished for its creamy goodness and comforting appeal. Chicken a la king had its place, but who could overlook the simple pleasure of a Salisbury steak, a meal that was both filling and flavorful? Salisbury steak, a classic American comfort food, rose to fame from the 1950s through the 1980s. This dish, simple yet satisfying, featured ground beef patties seasoned and shaped to resemble a steak, then smothered in a rich, savory gravy. It became a symbol of the era's dining culture, gracing the tables of family dinners and neatly packed into the compartments of TV dinners. Whoa! The preparation of Salisbury steak was straightforward. Ground beef was mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, and spices, formed into oval patties, and then pan-fried or baked. The gravy, often a blend of broth, flour, and seasonings, was poured over the cooked patties, creating a meal that was both filling and flavorful. Its popularity was partly due to the convenience it offered during the rise of television. Families could enjoy the hearty meal while watching their favorite shows, all without the fuss of extensive cooking or cleanup. Salisbury steak embodied the spirit of mid-century America, a time of practicality and comfort. Today, while Salisbury steak may not be as prevalent as it once was, it hasn't disappeared entirely. It can still be found in some diners, restaurants, and frozen meal sections, offering a taste of nostalgia. Pork chops and applesauce. Pork chops and applesauce were another hallmark of mid-century American cuisine, particularly popular from the 1950s to the 1980s. This dish exemplified the trend of combining sweet and savory flavors in a single meal, reflecting the culinary preferences of the time. The pairing of tender pork chops with the tart sweetness of applesauce was a hit among families and diners alike. It offered a harmonious blend of flavors and textures that appealed to a wide range of palates. The dish was often served as a comforting and satisfying meal, showcasing the versatility of pork in American cooking. However, as culinary taste evolved and dietary trends shifted, the popularity of pork chops and applesauce gradually waned. Pork chops and applesauce may be a favorite, but the enchanting flavors of Swedish meatballs can't be ignored. Swedish meatballs were an iconic dinner dish in the USA from the 1950s to the 1980s. They were known for their creamy sauce, typically made with a blend of beef or pork broth, cream and spices like nutmeg and allspice. These meatballs were often served with noodles or potatoes, making for a hearty and comforting meal. What made Swedish meatballs stand out was not just their delicious flavor, but also their cultural significance. They represented a time when European cuisine, particularly Scandinavian flavors, captured the American palate. This trend reflected the broader fascination with international foods during the mid-century period. However, over time, the popularity of Swedish meatballs declined, and they are no longer as commonly found on dinner tables today. Pot roast. Pot roast was a classic American comfort food from the 1950s to the 1980s. It was prepared by slow cooking a large cut of beef, typically a chuck roast with carrots, onions, and potatoes. This hearty dish was favored for its simplicity and rich flavors, making it a staple for family dinners and gatherings. The slow cooking process allowed the meat to become tender and infused with the savory flavors of the vegetables and seasonings. Pot roast was often cooked in a Dutch oven or a slow cooker, allowing for a convenient and hands-off preparation method. Its popularity stemmed from its ability to provide a satisfying and wholesome meal that could feed a crowd with minimal effort. While pot roast remains a beloved comfort food today, the renaissance of corned beef and cabbage is too sweet to pass up. Corned beef and cabbage. Corned beef and cabbage was a popular dish, especially around St. Patrick's Day from the 1950s to the 1980s. It was a boiled dinner that became a staple for many American families, particularly those of Irish descent. The dish featured corned beef, which is beef cured in a brine solution with spices, giving it a distinct salty and tangy flavor. The meat was then slow cooked or boiled with cabbage, potatoes, carrots, and sometimes onions. This hearty meal provided a comforting and satisfying option for gatherings and celebrations. Corned beef and cabbage's popularity during St. Patrick's Day reflected a cultural connection to Irish heritage and tradition. While it remains a recognizable dish today, its prominence as a go-to meal for American families has waned over time. Meatloaf. Meatloaf was a classic American dinner dish from the past, the love for its simplicity and comforting flavors. Families across the USA often enjoyed meatloaf served alongside creamy mashed potatoes and tender green beans. It was a versatile dish, easily customizable with various spices and seasonings, making it adaptable to different tastes and preferences. The affordability and ease of preparation made meatloaf a staple in many households, representing wholesome, home-cooked meals that brought people together at the dinner table. Its popularity waned in more recent years, partly due to changing culinary trends and a shift towards lighter, healthier fare. There's a nostalgic charm attached to meatloaf, and many people today fondly remember the hearty flavors and the sense of warmth it brought to family dinners, making it a dish that's often missed and wished to make a comeback on modern dining tables. As we bid farewell to meatloaf, let's uncover another gem from the past that deserves a culinary comeback. Chicken Devon. Chicken Devon was adored for its rich flavors and elegant presentation. This casserole, featuring tender chicken and vibrant broccoli bathed in a velvety sauce and crowned with melted cheese, symbolized the sophistication of mid-century dinner parties. Its popularity soared from the 1950s to the 1980s, becoming a staple on family tables and festive gatherings alike. What made Chicken Devon stand out was its perfect balance of creamy texture savory chicken and the earthy freshness of broccoli. The dish encapsulated the era's culinary trends, emphasizing convenience without compromising taste. However, as culinary preferences evolved and healthier eating habits gained traction, Chicken Devon gradually faded from mainstream menus. Shepherd's pie, a British classic that crossed the Atlantic, became a beloved staple in American homes from the 1950s to the 1980s. This hearty dish is layered with simplicity and tradition, reflecting the practicality of mid-20th century American cooking. The preparation of shepherd's pie begins with ground meat, traditionally lamb, but beef was often used in the U.S. The meat is cooked until brown, and then simmered in a rich gravy with onions, carrots, and sometimes peas for a savory filling. The mixture is then spread into a baking dish. The next layer is the mashed potatoes, creamy and fluffy, often enriched with butter and milk. The potatoes are spread over the meat and smoothed to create a seal. The final touch, a ruffle of fork tines or a sprinkle of cheese, adds texture and flavor to the crust. Blended from selected herbs and spices, Schwartz authentic mixes help you create all kinds of dishes, from exotic things like shepherd's pie. The core ingredients are ground meat, onions, carrots, gravy, and potatoes. Variations might include celery, cheese, or other vegetables, but the essence of shepherd's pie remains the same: meat and potatoes in perfect harmony. Shepherd's pie has endured as a comfort food classic. It's found in family dinners, potlucks, and even upscale restaurants that pay homage to this humble dish with gourmet twists. Its enduring popularity lies in its versatility and the ease with which it can be customized to suit any palate or dietary need. Leaving behind the world of shepherd's pie, let's venture into the realm of goulash, a revolutionary convenience in 1950s dining. Goulash, an Americanized take on the Hungarian classic, became immensely popular in the United States in the 1950s to the 1980s. It was a hearty and comforting dish, perfect for family dinners and gatherings. The recipe typically included ground beef, macaroni, onions, bell peppers, garlic, and a rich tomato-based sauce seasoned with paprika, salt, and pepper. One of the reasons for its popularity was its simplicity and affordability, making it a staple in many households. It was a one-pot meal that could feed a crowd without breaking the bank. The flavors were robust and satisfying, combining the savory notes of beef with the tanginess of tomatoes and the warmth of paprika. Despite its decline in popularity in recent years, many nostalgic individuals would love to see goulash make a comeback on dinner tables, evoking memories of cozy family dinners and the comforting flavors of the past. Clam chowder. Clam chowder, especially in New England, holds a cherished place in American culinary history from the 1950s to the 1980s. You having that chunky clam chowder? Yep. Looks like real New England broth. Yep. They say it's got chunks of clams and potatoes so big, this creamy soup, brimming with succulent clams and hearty chunks of potatoes, was a comfort food favorite enjoyed by many. Its rich and comforting flavor profile, often complemented by a dash of smoky bacon or aromatic herbs, made it a go-to choice for warming up on chilly days. One of the distinctive features of clam chowder was its accompaniment of oyster crackers, adding a delightful crunch and texture to each spoonful. These small, round crackers not only enhanced the soup's overall experience, but also became a nostalgic element of enjoying clam chowder. The popularity of clam chowder extended beyond just its taste. It symbolized a connection to coastal traditions and seafood heritage. Families would gather around tables, savoring this hearty dish while sharing stories and creating cherished memories. Despite its decline in popularity in recent years, clam chowder remains a beloved classic that holds a special place in the hearts of those who remember its comforting warmth and delicious flavors. Moving away from clam chowder, let's switch gears and explore the next must-have food item that has been lost in time. Fondue parties. Fondue parties were an iconic dining trend in the 1970s, reflecting a social and interactive culinary experience. These gatherings were characterized by bubbling pots of melted cheese or chocolate, where guests dipped various items like bread, vegetables, and meats. The act of dipping and sharing food fostered a communal atmosphere, making fondue parties a popular choice for social gatherings and celebrations. One of the unique aspects of fondue parties was the range of flavors and textures offered. From savory cheese fondues to sweet chocolate fondues, guests could indulge in a variety of tastes in just one sitting. This diversity contributed to the appeal of fondue parties, as they catered to different preferences and dietary restrictions. While fondue parties have become less common in recent years, they are fondly remembered as a symbol of social gatherings and culinary exploration from the 1970s in the USA.